Welcome to the Evolution Network's NBA Draft Preview. I am your host, Joseph Potter, and today I'm joined by Trumaine Jenkins and Chris Ransom. And today's NBA Draft Preview, we're going to have a little bit of a different format as we go down Chris Ransom's mock draft. And while we go down his mock draft, he's going to give an explanation as to why this team's going to pick this player. TJ's going to come back. He's going to give his opinion on why he agrees with Chris, why he disagrees with Chris, whether or not this pick means anything. And I'm going to be scouring through information, keeping everybody updated on the latest information for each team as we go through the mock draft. In addition, we are probably going to end up having, we're going to be a little bit longer with this draft or this episode than the normal episodes. It'll probably be closer to what the NBA Finals recap was. So stick with us and we'll sure everything will be entertaining for you. Now, that being said, let's jump right into it. Chris, Philadelphia 76ers, you gave the 76ers Markelle Fultz, point guard for why?
Well, Philadelphia needs to just take the best player on the board. They're in such a dire state. They do have a good center. They got Simmons. He was a small forward at LSU, can play power forward too. And maybe he is a better fit at point guard. But you look at the fact that Markelle Fultz, he is one of the only first-round prospects that averages over 20 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists. The field goal percentage is there at 476. The three-point percentage is there at 413, hitting over 40% of three-pointers. That's remarkable. The free throw percentage is 649. They've used some improvement, but Fultz has the tools to be the top pick. The dribbling is there. The passing is there. The shooting accuracy from short range, medium range, long range on tape. All of that is there with Markelle Fultz. And this is the best player in the draft. And this is the player the Sixers were wowed with at workouts. So that's why they traded up with him with the Boston Celtics at number one. And the Boston Celtics held the right to number one pick 3 times in NBA history, and all 3 times they traded it. They won 2 trades. They traded. They picked Chuck Scher over Holy Cross, future star and Hall of Famer Bob Cousy in 1950, and 30 years later, the Celtics had the number one pick in 1980. They instead of using it on Joe Barry Carroll, they traded down and they got Kevin McHale, which we went into quite a bit about on yesterday's podcast on Draft Utopia. But the Philadelphia 76ers, they just need to take the best player on the board. That's Fultz at this point. He can complement Simmons the way Westbrook complemented Durant or the way Kyrie Irving complements LeBron in Philadelphia. And if all of those guys stay healthy, this is a borderline 11 through 15 team in the 2018 NBA draft as a team that may make the playoffs, but they may end up picking outside the top 10 if they miss the playoffs. I don't think they're there yet, but I think if all of those guys stay healthy, they'll be picking outside the top 10 next year, TJ. Not sure how they'll make the playoffs or if they'll make the playoffs next year, but I think if everybody stays healthy, they can do well enough to pick outside the top 10 and really take a huge step forward.
Do you agree or disagree, TJ?
I agree with Chris. Markelle Fultz is probably the first round draft pick. Philly needs a scorer, and they need a point guard. So why not go with Markelle Fultz? He's a scorer. He'll give you the points. He doesn't. The problem with that is that when you look at Markelle Fultz, the one thing they will ask is, can he lead a team? And you know, can he be a leader for that Philadelphia team? In my eyes, yes, he can. Getting back Ben Simmons and having a healthy Ben Simmons will help them because Ben Simmons, instead he plays like LeBron, but we never seen him showcase that skill. And to have a Ben Simmons that's taller than what he was previous is, he's 7 foot now. So having Ben Simmons come back, being healthy, having Markelle Fultz being the top pick, the sky is the limit for Philly if they stay healthy. That's their only thing. It's health.
Yeah, and now moving on, we've got the Los Angeles Lakers. Chris, who'd you give? Why'd you give? And then we'll move on and TJ has to say.
Well, a reason I gave the Lakers Josh Jackson is I have him as the number 2 player on my board behind Markelle Fultz, and I think you're looking at 3 players that they've worked out multiple times: Lonzo Ball, Josh Jackson, De'Aaron Fox. Fox is undersized. He's only 160 pounds, even though he's great on defense. Lonzo Ball has the thing with his dad, and Josh Jackson has the thing where he confronted a woman outside of her car because she broke up with one of his teammates, and he had to go to anger management for that. But at the same time, he talked about how that anger management class has helped him mature. Alonzo Ball never pointed out anything, how he wanted to be independent from his dad in the interview process. He only got one private workout up until Friday, where he got the second private workout. And I think the Josh Jackson, he averages more points per game than Ball, 16.3 to 14.6. Ball is listed at 2 in a lot more mock drafts, but I believe the Lakers are leading Jackson now. He's averaged 7.4 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. He just seems like a better fit. Brandon Ingram was only 190 pounds last year. They drafted him at small forward, but Jackson, he's 207. He's better defensively than Ingram is. And this is a guy who averaged 513, hit over half of his shots, hit the free throw percentage at 566. Well, that needs to improve. The three-point percentage is solid at 378. This guy was going to be my top pick a year ago when I made my initial NBA mock draft. I believe he's the second best player in this entire draft after Markelle Fultz. And it would make sense for the Lakers to take him at this point because Josh Jackson is a 3. That's his natural position, but he can move to the 2 at 6'8", 207. Ingram can move to the 2 as well. So you can put one of those guys in the 2 guard position, and you can keep the other in the lineup. Or you could keep Jordan Clarkson at 2 guard and move one of these guys like Ingram into a bench role. But I think he's ready to start, and he's ready to help win now for whoever, whether it's the Lakers or the Celtics. I think whoever gets him at 2 whoever gets Jackson is going to be getting a great value pick. I'm not sure where you stand with me on this, TJ. I know I do have some friends of mine who still think Lonzo Ball is in play for the Lakers at 2. What do you think?
This is a toss-up. Lakers number 2. They can go with Lonzo. They can go with Josh. They can go with De'Aaron Fox. I kind of agree and disagree at the same time. It's kind of tough what the Lakers is going to really pick. They needed 3. They needed points. So it's real tough. They also need a big man to help behind the scenes. Lonzo Ball, you know what you're getting. You get his dad. Hopefully not a lot of controversy in that. With Josh Jackson, great player. He has the length. He has the ball skills. However, like I said before, when I was talking to Joseph yesterday about this, Josh Jackson shooting mechanics just need to be fixed. De'Aaron Fox, great defender, but just small for a point guard. So with the Lakers, I think the Lakers will go highly with Josh Jackson just because he seems more NBA bound ready. And when you have that NBA bound ready, and you can put everything together. Mind you that they still have D'Angelo Russell, so they can use the big 6'8" with the wingspan and have him play the two while you have um Joseph, help me out. Who's the small forward that they drafted from Duke last year?
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram. They used Brandon Ingram, who's 6'9", just like but has almost the same width as Kevin Durant. So now your defense, you have a length. So now you can play the length. You can play the length of the ball, play the passing lanes with the length of the person. So Josh Jackson would be a better pick for the Lakers than Lonzo Ball, and that's just my perspective.
Yeah, and it's good perspective to have, but moving on, we got the Celtics, and this is an interesting pick you have here, Chris. You gave the Celtics Jason Tatum, the small forward out of Duke. He 6'8", 205, but Tatum is a little on the thin side, and he's not a great shooter, but he's good from the free throw line. And one thing the Celtics need is defense. So they're, according to NBA.com, they give up 105.5 points a game and only average 108.6. So per every 100 possessions, mind you. And there are rumors that the Celtics may not be done trading. So who did you give the Celtics? And or I already told her who you gave him, but why did you give Tatum to the Celtics?
I gave Tatum to the Celtics because I believe he's that third option. I think the Celtics are looking at four players heavily. They were looking at Fultz and Jackson, but if both are off the board, they have to look at either Jason Tatum or Lonzo Ball. And with Ball not beating what the Celtics want yet, I think that makes Tatum the overwhelming front runner between those two if both of those players are off the board at this point. I think if the Lakers went with Ball, Jackson would go here, and Tatum would fall to the Suns. But in this scenario, Tatum goes to the Celtics at number 3, and this just makes the most logical sense. However, there are rumors about the Celtics moving this pick for Jimmy Butler. There's rumors about the Celtics moving this pick for Anthony Davis. So the Celtics may not be done trading. I feel like the Celtics are waiting for Josh Jackson at 3, but if the Lakers take him, they're going to try to trade this pick. And if they can't find a bidder or they can't get a deal in place, they're going to take Jason Tatum here.
Yeah, and also remember, right now, the Celtics only have 3 forwards and 2 centers under contract at the moment. So, and then they have 5 guards. So, even whether they make this pick or they trade this pick, if they draft a forward or center, it will be addressing a position of need. TJ, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is for the Boston Celtics, if the Lakers do a Ball, then of course Boston's going to wind up getting Josh Jackson. However, if the Lakers do get Josh Jackson, I see 2 things that I see 2 to 3 things that they will do. They'll most likely pick either Jason Tatum, or they will trade down to get Jonathan Isaac, which I thought that's a little shady. Or they'll use a trade and get somebody with valuable like Alonzo Ball and use the value to trade to get a solid small forward. So, but it's a lot that Boston still can do. They have the team. They have the team where, they're versatile. They still have Jaylen Brown, who's still learning the game, and they still have a lot of pieces, even in their bench, to where they can mold and get a player to fit their scheme. which I like Boston for.
Yeah,
Boston has a team that's ready bound to win a championship, and don't be surprised when they make the right move.
yeah. Then moving on, we've got the
You
Phoenix.
mentioned Jonathan Isaac, TJ. That's why I have the Phoenix Suns taking it 4. But was that what you were going to say, Joey?
Yeah, I was gonna say, moving on to the Phoenix Suns, we've got Jonathan Isaac at small forward, and the Suns are just a mess right now. They are 22nd in offense, 28th in defense. Why did you give the Suns Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State?
Well, I think I love what they have at the guard situation. They have the shoot guard in um, Murray. Um, maybe I'm thinking of Devin Booker, I believe. But the
You are.
point guard situation. Outside of Devin Booker, shooting guard, they've got Eric Bledsoe, who's averaging 20 points per game. They've got Brandon Knight, who's averaging 11 points per game. You are set at the guard position. You just need to get forwards and a center to make this starting five a legit team that stands out on paper. And I think Jonathan Isaac fits what the Suns want here. This was a guy they had at number 2 on their board at one point before bringing in Tatum and Jackson for workouts. And I think in this scenario, the Suns get Jonathan Isaac. I think taking a point guard like Lonzo Ball here, when you have as much stability as the Suns have with Bledsoe and Knight, both under contract until 2020 for the next 3 years. So not only are these guys averaging 20 and 11 points per game as starter and backup point guards, they're under contract for the next 3 years. So not only does it make logical sense, it doesn't make financial sense either, which I didn't bring up on yesterday's podcast. So Jonathan Isaac is a perfect fit for what the Suns want to do. Average 12 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game. He's bigger than Tatum, but not as much muscle. 6'10", 210 pounds, 508 field goal percentage, 348 three-point percentage, and a 780 free throw percentage. Isaac's bigger than Tatum, and it's understandable why a team like the Suns had him ahead of Tatum at one point on their board back in before the process heated up. So I think Tatum to the Suns at 4 makes total sense, and we see Tatum we see John Isaac, the Florida State small forward, go to the Suns at 4. Lauri Markkanen at Arizona could be another option here, but I think they're going to get a forward at 4.
TJ?
I don't see Phoenix getting a point guard in this situation. So De'Aaron Fox will be down. They need somebody to work the wing or work the post. And Jonathan Isaac will probably be your best bet. But it's only depending on what the Lakers do. If the Lakers get Josh Jackson, then it's going to move to where Boston is either Monk or Jonathan Isaac. So it's all depending on the Lakers. The Lakers can make a decision of getting Lonzo Ball or making a decision to get Josh Jackson. Phoenix is in a good and bad situation because if the Lakers get Josh, Boston has it to where they can either trade, they can either get Jonathan or they can get Tatum. So Phoenix, your best bet is to get Jonathan Isaac if nobody touches him.
Yeah, and something else that people have to realize, Phoenix Suns starting 5 averaged 21 years and 14 days old last season. So it's just a young team. It's going to keep getting younger. And so moving on, number 5, Sacramento Kings. This is an interesting pick, and there's a lot we can work with when it comes to the Kings, but here the Kings have always prided themselves on point guards, and Chris, you're giving them a point guard here.
Yep, I'm needing a point guard This could be where Alonzo Ball comes off the board, but at the same time, I want De'Aaron Fox. I mean, you look at the Kings historically, taking players out of Kentucky, and he defended well against Lonzo Ball. He scored more points per game. Lonzo Ball's 14.6 points per game aren't really that impressive, whereas Fox had 16.7 points per game. He's a better free throw shooter. I mean, Fox needs to work on hitting three-pointers. I mean, the 246 three-point percentage is awful, and he's undersized, 150, but at the same time, he has enough talent to be a successful point guard since he defends well. One thing Fox does well, despite the size, he did that against Lonzo Ball. That's why I have a top 5 grade on him at the moment. And this is a good spot for him to land. And this is my number 5 player in the NBA draft on my board at this point. But it's because he could go here. We could also see Lonzo Ball go here if the Lakers pass on him at 2. I mean, this is an interesting scenario, but I went with De'Aaron Fox simply because of the Kings' historical days and their history of taking guys out of Kentucky.
Yeah, TJ, what do you think about this pick? Historically, it goes up the Kings' alley with what they like to do.
I totally agree on this pick. I don't see them getting Lonzo Ball, and the reason why it's too much controversy with his dad, and to me, I just think that Lonzo Ball with the Kings wasn't highly scouted. I think the Kings didn't really want Lonzo Ball, so I see them getting De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox has to get his 3-point better, field goals, and use a little work. But the mindset, very, very ready for it. Very, very good on defense. Shut Lonzo Ball down, and just being from that Kentucky team, you gotta understand Sacramento loves Kentucky team. What happened when they had DeMarcus Cousins? DeMarcus Cousins did very great for them. I kind of wish they still had DeMarcus Cousins, but to go with the team that they might actually get. But yeah, I'm definitely going with De'Aaron Fox at Sacramento, hands down.
Yeah, and now turn around. There haven't been many rumors that I'm hearing so far, other than the Celtics potentially trading down again. So we're going to just keep chugging on. We've got number 6, the Orlando Magic, coming up. Now, this is, Chris, you gave him a guy who a lot of people are saying may actually be better than De'Aaron Fox at point guard, and you're giving them North Carolina State point guard Dennis Smith Jr. And Smith has comparable stats. He has better passing stats, better shooting stats. So, what did you see in him that makes him a good fit in Orlando?
Jr. may be one of the top 5 players in the draft. I actually have him ahead of Fox on my draft 4, but he doesn't have the exposure that some of these other players have. But one team that really loves Dennis Smith Jr. is the Magic. They brought him in for 3 individual workouts. They've even told the Celtics about how they should stay over Fultz at 1. That's how much they like this guy, and I will be shocked if they don't take Dennis Smith Jr. here, because unless they're pulling off the smoke screen of the century, hoping Lonzo Ball falls to this pick, I think this is already set in stone unless the Kings take Dennis Smith Jr. I could even see the Magic trading this pick to Denver, who would take Lonzo Ball, and then still getting Dennis Smith Jr., because they have 2 second-round picks as well as another first-round pick. So the Magic could possibly trade down, see if a team wants to move up for Lonzo Ball. Remember, the Denver Nuggets assistant GM took the Orlando Magic general manager job this offseason. So if the Magic knew a team was in the market for Lonzo Ball and they knew the Nuggets were really high on Ball, they could make a trade with Denver here. They could move down. They could still get Dennis Smith Jr. with all the picks they have, because they have 2 firsts as well as 2 seconds, which are both in top 35, Joey. So you look at that ammunition. If the Magic, I feel like the Magic really want Dennis Smith Jr. The smart thing to do would be to take him at 6. But I also think they could try to trade down, see if it's Lonzo Ball. The Magic GM works with the Nuggets, knows Denver wants Lonzo Ball. Maybe we see a trade here.
Yeah, it is a possibility. TJ, what do you think?
Let's see, Orlando, Lonzo Ball. You still have Lonzo Ball. You have Dennis Smith. I think Dennis Smith will be the one of the picks that that Orlando might get. Lonzo Ball might be another, because they need a guard who can pass around, who can just help them be better of a team. See a trade out of this. There's a lot that Orlando can do. The team that they really need is a point guard. The person that they need is a point guard, the position. I just see Dennis Smith being a more better point guard than Lonzo Ball in my eyes. That controversy with his dad, and Orlando's not really a controversy team like that to deal with controversy. So Dennis Smith, I got Dennis Smith over Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, and now looking at going forward, yeah, I think Smith could be that unheralded guy that a lot of people are overlooking, and because he doesn't have that hype machine behind it. But moving on to Minnesota, this is a guy I have heard a lot about in recent days. Didn't hear much about him before that, but he's really coming on strong the closer we get to the draft. That is number 7, the pick you gave him, Chris. Lauri Markkanen, power forward, Arizona. The guy is a haul, 7 foot 230 at power forward. Really reminds you of maybe a Kevin Willis type player. Why did you give Minnesota of Markkanen?
Well, the reason I gave Minnesota Lauri Markkanen is this team is set in position. They had the number 1 pick twice in 2014 and 2015. They got Wiggins at small forward. They got Karl Anthony Towns at power forward. They got Zach LaVine at shooting guard, who actually won some of the free throw, 3-point contests at the NBA All-Star Game. It may have been the slam dunk, but they got Zach LaVine at shooting guard out of Michigan. And they got Chris Dunn as a backup point guard in the top 5, Rubio. So they have a lot of pieces in place. The only thing missing is a power forward. That's the only thing keeping this team from being a playoff team. And there's 3 guys they're looking at heavily. Lauri Markkanen at Arizona, I would think with his size, 7 foot 230, he would be the clear slam dunk pick. But they are also looking at Gonzaga power forward / center Zach Collins, as well as Wake Forest power forward John Collins, who averages 19.5 points per game for Wake Forest last year. Minnesota is looking at all 3 of those players. So if they have John Collins or Zach Collins higher on their board than Markkanen, I think they will actually trade this pick with a team. And if Lonzo Ball's there, there's definitely going to be a market, since the Knicks and the Mavericks both need point guards. So there's definitely going to be a market. I could see Denver and the Chicago Bulls both making Minnesota offers to get this pick. And this is definitely an interesting scenario for the Minnesota Timberwolves to be in at this point in the draft, because I feel like they're going to move on from Rubio this year, but at the same time, I feel like Markkanen is the best player of those. So at this point, Markkanen is the missing piece for Minnesota. He just makes the most logical sense and he's shooting 835 from the free throw line, which is incredible for a big man. I think this is the right pick for Minnesota, but they could easily trade down and get Collins or John Collins out of Wake Forest. They could get Zach Collins or John Collins out of Gonzaga or Wake Forest, but I think Mon 7 foot 230. If they keep this pick and they decide not to move down, this is a flip for Minnesota.
TJ?
Oh, man. Dunn. Levine. Wiggins. Towns. They need a power forward. That's no question. They need a power forward. So I'm going with Lloyd Martin. It makes the perfect sense to get a power forward. If not, get a center and move Towns to a power forward. They can either flip it to get a center or they can get the power forward. I don't see them getting a point guard. I don't see a shooting guard. I don't see them getting a small forward. It's either center or power forward. That's it.
Yeah, and power forward at this, when Kevin Willis was one of my favorite players. Any team that can get a player like Kevin Willis in stature and build, it gives you something to build on. So I think Minnesota would get a great player in Markkanen in that situation. And as you said, Chris, free throw percentage, you can never ever discount free throw percentage when it comes to big man, because if they're aggressive, they're going to be at the line a whole lot. And moving on to the New York Knicks at number 8. The Knicks are going with a guy from somewhere I've never heard of, and it's Germany.
Team in France.
France, okay.
Frank Nicolina. His name's really difficult to pronounce, and the team might be Frank Nicolina, point guard Strasbourg, and this guy is an international player from France. And I know some draft sites, like other football, they list the country instead of the academy of the school. That cool stuff, but I try to find the academy and will only list the country as a last resort. But Strasbourg is the basketball academy in France, and I feel like the Knicks are going to take another international player. They got a lot of backlash even a few years ago when they took Chris Porzingis in the first year that Phil Jackson had a first-round pick, but that ended up being one of the best business decisions the Knicks made. And I feel like they're going to do that again. They're going to pass on Lonzo Ball, and I feel Frank Nicolina. And at this point, that Stephen A. had on draft, it's going to be twice as big, maybe even with Nicolina. But I think this guy, the Knicks, I could also see Juwan Evans, Oklahoma State point guard coming off the year. I think the Knicks are going to take one of those 2 point guards at number 8. Maybe they'll reach for Nigel Williams-Goss out of Gonzaga, since Gonzaga did make the title. I think they're going to take another point guard over Lonzo Ball and really surprise a lot of people at number 8. I just cannot see someone with Phil Jackson's business acumen, his leadership, taking Lonzo Ball and his dad at 8, Joey. I just can't see it.
No, Ball's dad, his biggest detriment, and it proves it here as he continues to slide. TJ, what's your thought on this bobbity boopity French dude coming in here getting drafted number 8?
Man, the New York Knicks. Let's just start by saying Lonzo Ball will not go on there. Because it's a certain style, New York Knicks, especially when you're under Phil Jackson. They run the triangle. Hint triangle. They run the triangle for a reason. Old school play that he used to do it with the Lakers, trying to do it with the Knicks. And I just don't see no ball person to get that triangle offense down. So see Lonzo Ball going. However, I do agree with him getting a point guard, or they might get a shooting guard. So please, if y'all do, please look out for Malik Monk, who is from Kentucky. Um, Versatile point guard. Versatile shooting guard, should I say? Um, he can work that triangle offense. However, it's a slim chance that you don't have Carmelo in New York, so just be mindful. But New York has a ball going to New York. It's not happening.
Yeah, and I can agree with all that. And speaking of which, now we're going from boppity boop France and going straight into Frank Calienzo's drawing of Homer Simpson as the Dallas Mavericks finally take him off the board. You've got him going, Chris. Lonzo Ball, point guard, UCLA, going to Dallas.
Lonzo Ball, a great passer. The field is good. The percentage is good. The free throw percentage is 670, but Lonzo Ball reminds me of Steph Curry with their pass. That is his biggest detriment. And one person who admires his dad's pass is Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. So I feel like the Mavericks that will look past that Paul has created within the media that has caused his son to hit. And a lot of people believe Lonzo Ball will be off the board before number 9, but this is early to get drafted. I know you came on our podcast and you even speculated that Lonzo Ball could fall even further. One team that did have, I heard is rumored to have Lonzo Ball number 1 on their entire board is the Denver Nuggets, 13, and Lonzo Ball might fall right into their lap if the Mavericks pass on him and take Malik Monk, because that is another option I could see. I mean, I'm really torn to whether they'll go Lonzo Ball or Malik Monk, but I feel like they will pull the trigger on Lonzo Ball here and take him at number 9.
TJ.
The $500 kid. I want Lonzo Ball on this one. Like you said before, Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has that thing with his dad where he agrees with his dad to make him tougher, to make it tough on him on the NBA, which that's a good thing to have. As a father, have that support. That you can do anything. Lonzo Ball, like I said, he's a great passer. Shooting, his shooting looks funny, but man, doesn't work for him.
I know LeBron James made fun of his shoot style during the NBA playoffs and warm-ups, but go ahead, TJ.
He did, but I mean, like I said, it works for him, and you can't argue if the shot perfectly. Shot is perfect. I do want to see improvement on him getting the shot off the dribble. Just key matchups. What you're going to do if you have that defense around you? Will you make the right play? Will you make the right decision making? I want to see better. I like to see better things for him. Going to that Dallas team and helping that Dallas team out. Going to that Dallas team wouldn't be a struggle ball, and about Dallas more if they do get Lonzo Ball. Because they
Dirk Nowitzki was for him. He developed some humility, a deeper appreciation for the game, and this is the best fit for Lonzo.
Exactly. And when you have a Dirk that can still give you some type of points and still be able to post up, you can't stop a Dirk Nowitzki shot. That post shot that's amazing. When you have that type of mentor that can teach you the game and teach you what does it take to make it in the NBA, the best fit would be getting Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, and now moving on here, where we went number 10. Guess who's back up? The Sacramento Kings. So the Kings went, according to Chris, De'Aaron Fox, point guard Kentucky at number 5. They come down here at number 10, and TJ talking about the Sacramento Kings are going Malik Monk, shooting guard Kentucky. Chris, why do you and TJ agree?
Torn on at 10. I never picked out the two options: Malik Monk out of Kentucky and Justin Jackson, the North Carolina small forward, who I have going to the Charlotte Hornets at number 11. And to be honest, I was thinking about swapping those picks the last few weeks. I mean, because I think Malik Monk's a top 10 talent, but at the same time, if the Kings would want to draft for need, they can get Jackson. At the same time, if they want to just take the best, which I think they can do at 10, they'll go with Malik Monk, because the Kings have Bob Hield and Rudy Gay as starters next year. So do they want to bring one who can step up if Rudy Gay gets injured again, or do they want to bring in depth that can complement Buddy Hield as well as the point guard they drafted number 5? And Sacramento, they that history of Kentucky players, so I have them taking 2 of them since Malik Monk's the best player on the board at 10. And I just feel like that is it's too good for them to turn down at this point, value-wise. If you've got a quality starter or shooting guard, small forward, and you have a starting 5 in place, I think this is the right time to take somebody like Malik Monk. But I'm really torn on this. If you think I should change the pick to Justin Jackson, my final NBA mock on Thursday, your chance to make that.
TJ, what do you say about Mr. Monk?
If he doesn't go to New York, he might be to Sacramento. But keep in mind that Sacramento still needs a big man. So, like I said, they need a big man. Zach Collins would be one. Justin Patton will be one. Jared Allen will be one. It's a really scratch off in the head for this one.
Yeah, you also have John Collins at
from
Forest.
If they don't get Monk, I feel they'll get Zach Collins because he has the height, not so much of the weight, but they need a center, and he will probably be a better fit. But that's still like.
Yeah, the Kings had Willie Cauley-Stein and Scal Abissier, though, TJ. I'm not sure if they're going to give another one of those players or if they're going to try to find an upgrade. That definitely is a possibility. I didn't think about it until now, but that's definitely a possibility. But go ahead.
Right. It's a lot of possibilities with this. Like you might see them trade down to get a wing player. It's a lot with the Sacramento State. I'm trying to think what they might actually do. They need a scorer. They need a scorer like Monk. They need another big. So they might get Zach Collins. They need a power forward. So they might get John Collins. It's just a lot that they need to do. That pick's going to be what type of pick that they need to help them benefit them.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take one from Chris because I know he touched on his reasons for the Charlotte Hornets and Justin Jackson a bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about this one. The Hornets are a team that historically they go with the leaner build. Yes, they went with Larry Johnson at one point in time, but he was smaller and stockier, still a little on the short side, They're athletic. They like to go. Justin Jackson fits that mold. He's 6'8", 210. He's lean. He averages a lot of points. He doesn't get a lot of rebounds, doesn't get a lot of assists, but he goes and he's kind of like he's typical North, well coached, but he's got that energy level that the Hornets really like. Now, what he needs to do in a lot of levels, he's got to get his rebounds up, probably at least 1 rebound a game. Longer games in the NBA might help that a bit. He needs to get his assists up, a game, and his field goal percentage needs to go up at least to another .04. He's sitting at 44%. Needs to get that up to 48, 49%. 3-point percentage, 30%. I don't put as much stock in the 3 days if you the hoop. Just be competent at it. Needs to get his free throw up. So he's good, and he gives the Hornets what they need, but he does have deficiencies. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great passer. He's a good rebounder. Needs to get a little bit better rebounding. He's not a great free throw shooter. Needs to get that up. He has leadership ability, which the Hornets, I believe, need in abundance right now. He led the North Carolina men's basketball team to the NCAA tournament and a tournament championship for 2 years. And I'm not one of these people who go around watching the NBA or college basketball a lot anymore, but at the same time, I've seen Jackson play. He's got a lot of what it takes to make it in the NBA, but needs a lot of. But as far as a player and his play style goes, he is exactly what the Charlotte Hornets are looking for. TJ, what do you think about that?
You might be right on this one. Charlotte, man, you seriously might be right on this one, actually.
I did something that has never been before. Mr. TJ is speechless.
But I don't project these in mock drafts. But I think this could be a pick they trade out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I did something that's never been done before. I'm Jay speechless. So, I mean, we can't top that. But we're going to move on to number 12, in the Detroit Pistons. You gave the Pistons a position historically they're great with. I mean, there has probably never been a downtime for the Pistons at shooting guard. And you gave them shooting guard Donovan Mitchell out of Louisville, Chris.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell at 203, 15.6 points per game, 4.79 per game, 2.7 assists per game, 408 field goal percentage. His 3-point percentage is solid, but it could improve a little bit at 354. 806 free throw percentage. This is a guy that I really like, and I didn't even know about him until about a month ago. This is a player that I think for the Pistons at 12, this is a player they're developing for a year or two, and I think this is without a doubt the best Pistons at number 2.
TJ.
Only two people I think actually seen him in actual. And one person would be Luke Kennard. Averages 19 points. He gives you 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Donovan Mitchell gives you 30.6, gives you 4.9 for rebounds, and 2.7 assists. So the main object for the Pistons is very simple. They need a 2 guard that can actually score, that can give them nuggets. I don't see them getting a big man right now because they still have Andre Drummond's point guard, Reggie Jackson. So it's about trying to help the wings out. But don't be surprised if they do get a big man and they go after John Collins, which I'll make that assist to help out Drummond.
Yeah, and now we're going to move on to 13 real quick because this comes down to one of my favorite players in the draft. And Chris Nuggets, and that is power forward Zach Collins. Collins is a guy, he has 7 foot 230, built like a rock, can handle the ball, can shoot the ball. I mean, he can do everything and more that you want a big man to do. He can rebound, he can block shots. Chris, not I don't even have a question as to why you gave Denver such a player, but more the question of why didn't you give him to somebody sooner?
Well, I think with Hibbert and Plumlee being free agents, so what Jokic at center, but Kenneth Berry, he has dealt with a lot of injuries and he kind of struggled this year. Player they actually considered changing honest, but at the same time, I've heard that this is probably going to be the top player on Denver's board if they're picking here at 13. I'm going by that logic and assuming they're going to take him here. If they don't and they go with someone else, that might end up being a better selection.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about Collins is he was one and done at Gonzaga. I thought that he probably should have gone back to school to just get more experience, but at the same time, because anybody who knows me knows that I don't like it when a player comes out with less than at least 2 years experience. But at the same time, Collins right now is a hot commodity. So he, I mean, he's a hot commodity, and that's really what makes him strong at this position. And he only averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds. But I don't even think he's 19 years old yet. And his upside is out of this world. My worry is that if he goes to a team like Denver, they're going to push him. 18, 19-year-olds, if he might do well against some other young players, but if he goes in there against a veteran, I mean, if Collins goes against LeBron James and those two get into a one-on-one matchup, James is going to brutalize him. I mean, he still has to grow into his position. So, TJ, I don't know what you think about it, but I think it's a great pick for Denver as far as the player goes, as far as what it do for Collins himself. I'm a little on the fence as far as that one.
I ain't gonna argue this too much. I think if John Collins do not get picked, he goes. I won't spend too much time with Denver, but they need somebody to out. John Collins could be that pick. Actually, John Collins might actually be that pick if he
Well,
doesn't get picked by
TJ, this is Zach Collins. John Collins is going.
Zach Collins.
Yeah, wrong Collins. Yeah,
Sorry, Zach Collins.
it's alright.
Yeah, if Sacramento doesn't pick him at 10, then Zach Collins will drop. He'll drop to 13.
Yeah. Now, let's move on to 14. Miami. There we have John Collins, who is another player that I absolutely love in the draft. He double machine. 19 almost 10 rebounds a game. Needs to work on his passing from the post. I mean, only a half assist a game. That's just no. Yeah. But overall, I mean, he's got a lot that coaches like, Chris. I mean, what was your main focus on giving Miami John Collins?
Well, I initially had Jarrett Allen going here because he's a power forward slash center, but I did some research on John Collins. Tony Mario, who's made mock drafts on our site, follows the Miami Heat, suggested John Collins. I changed that pick, so I did some more research on Collins. I went back and watched the tape. I was really impressed with Collins. I found out he did a workout with the Miami Heat who's picking this spot. And once I found out they did a workout with him, I was thinking, well, they didn't work out Allen. They've worked out Collins. They're probably going to go Collins now because he has more points per game than Allen. And I figured that was just a better pick and a better fit for the Heat because it just felt like a better pick. And I have another power forward going to Portland at 15 and TJ Leaf, and we'll get to that in a second. But I figured John Collins, because Leaf can be a small forward or a power forward, but a pure power forward like John Collins makes sense for the Heat. Whereas Portland can get a combo forward that can play both the 3 and the 4 like TJ Leaf.
Yeah, and I have heard rumors that both of these Collins boys could be taken in the top 10. So, TJ, what are your thoughts on potentially both Collins being taken in the top 10 at some point?
I mean, it's likely to happen if everything, if things doesn't go if the pick doesn't go the way, but I highly doubt it. And he's getting John Collins, I can see it. They need a power forward. Chris Bosh still battling blood clots. So, also Miami can also use a wing player. So if Jonathan doesn't get picked, or if Luke doesn't get picked, they will be picked somewhere doing the 14th spot with Miami.
Or if Minnesota, because Minnesota is torn on the 3 power forwards, from what I've heard. They're torn on Markkanen, torn on Zach Collins, they're torn on John Collins. So if both Collins players were to go in the top 10, I think Minnesota would have to pass on Markkanen at 7, which would be, I think that would be crazy and insane, but it's the NBA draft. If they're that torn on, they might pass on Markkanen. They might go the other route. They might take a Collins or a John Collins at 7. And then if Markkanen to the Kings at 10, they might go with him over so that could alter a lot in the draft. Or the Kings might take John and then watch Markkanen fall to 11. And yeah, that could all where the NBA draft goes. But I can definitely see why you think that both Collins players have a chance to go in the top 10. I can definitely see that, Joey.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with this is that the power forward class, the top 4 or 5 power forwards are all extremely talented and have a lot of potential. And the same thing with the 4-5 forwards. Now, there's a drop-off after that. Only the first 2 or 3 really good point guards are in that situation, and I don't see centers this year that step out and wow me. So this is really a forward heavy draft at this point. I really like the power forwards over everybody else at this point. And so moving on to number 15. After we get done with 15, we're going to take a little bit of an intervention. Going to get something to drink, and then we're going to come back 16 through 30. So, guys, Chris, we're going to go Portland Trailblazers, TJ Leaf, small forward, UCLA. Chris, why you got him?
Well, I mentioned this pick briefly when talking about the Heat, and Leaf can play 3 or D4 at the small forward. He actually played for UCLA, but since I have Portland taking other power forward at number 20, I listed Leaf as a small forward when making this pick at 15. But Leaf can play the 3 or the 4, and I think that makes him a top 15 talent because you have a lot of good power forwards that can play the 4 or the 5. This is a guy that can play the 4 or the 3, and a little unique versatility-wise. So I went this route at 15. I figured this seems like the player Portland would take at this spot.
Yeah, and Leaf, remember, we'll have him seen as a power forward, some as a small forward, but in the end, he is the only player that, out of this group of small forwards, that has an NBA body at 6'10", 225. That 225 pounds is a huge point because for years you couldn't be a small forward in the NBA unless you were at least 215, 220 pounds. Now you're getting guys that are small forwards that are 210 pounds. So, TJ, what do you think of TJ Leaf out of UCLA? Is he a power forward? Is he a small forward?
I think you would you take TJ Leaf over Lonzo Ball? I get the strange feeling, Joey, that if you were an NBA GM, you would actually take TJ Leaf over Lonzo Ball.
It's a possibility. I would have to know more about my team, what I was dealing with, what my strengths and weaknesses were, and this, that, and the other. There's a lot more into it than just taking one player over another. But as far as outside distractions and everything, I would definitely take Leaf over Ball if you're just throwing that in.
Okay, so Portland, Lonzo Ball. Remember, they already have Damian Lillard and they have C.J. McCollum. So I don't think they need a lot of ball. More so they need a big man.
Well, they're taking TJ Leaf. TJ.
I can see them taking TJ Leaf, but also remember that they have pick 15 and pick 20. So I can also see them taking something like Justin, just because they need that extra body, the extra center, the extra piece. So I can actually see them taking both of them. I can see them take TJ at pick 2 and drop and take Justin at pick 20.
In one of my mocks, but I actually moved him up to another team in the top 20. And on take a 5-minute break to get like a drink, reload, and come back at 11:40 or 45.
Yeah.
Pick 16 through 30. Is that what you guys want to do?
Yeah. Go get a drink. We'll be back at 11:40, and we'll be here for and take on numbers 16 through 30 in our NBA draft preview show. So go have a break. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back here on the Evolution Network. Myself, Chris Ransom, TJ, uh, and to recap, we have been through picks 1 through 15, and we are about ready to start going through 16 through 30 in Chris Ransom's mock draft. We are discussing each team and what we agree and don't agree about with this mock draft and the players and possibilities that come with it. This is the Evolution Network. This is our NBA draft preview episode, and we are moving on. We have number 16, the Chicago Bulls. Chris, TJ, Chris, you have Juwan Evans, point guard, Oklahoma State University. You know, this is a must need for the Bulls. They don't have a point guard. And let's face it, the guys they do have, yeah, they're not cutting it or getting a little long there in the tooth. So, Chris, Juwan Evans, logical pick. Why him?
Well, I thought this was a logical pick, but the Rajon Rondo, Jerry and Grant combination didn't work versus the Celtics in the NBA playoffs. And the thing with Evans is his three-point percentage and his free throw percentage dropped this season. That was the same thing I said with Jerry and Grant coming out of Notre Dame 2 years ago. It's just the one drawback to taking this guy at number 16. But he may be an upgrade over Grant long term.
TJ?
Can't argue it. I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. Or Chicago could use a big man, and for what I look, they might even trade down to even get a big man. So
Yeah.
if they
Well-
do trade down, to
Well,
get a big man,
TJ, if things worked out the way that in the real draft that worked out in this mock, Jared Allen out of Texas is still there.
There are a lot of bigs still on the board. Jarrett Allen out of Texas is still there. Justin Patton, the only 7-foot center and the true center rather than a power forward / center combo center. He is still on the board at number 9. Still on the board. Ivan Rabb out of California, who is averaging double points per game. He is still on the board. There are a lot of good players still on the board at this point. And
the person that I was about to talk about was actually Rabb, because he averaged the double, and what I think that Chicago might do if they don't get the true center that's Justin Patton is probably trade down to get Ivan Rabb.
Yeah, Portland picks at 20 and 26, so they can move up for another player if they only wanted to address 2 needs in the first round and get 2 big-time players rather than 3. And that would be an ideal trading partner for the Bulls. 20 and 26 for 16, that would be an ideal trade, a logical trade. They could get a power forward and a point guard.
Yeah, and speaking of Jared Allen, the Milwaukee Bucks are next at 17. And Chris, you have Allen going to the Bucks at the 6'11", 235-pound power forward. Yet have him listed here as a power forward or center. At 235, I guess in today's NBA, the age of the big man's pretty much dead. So you see these 220-pound centers. So Jared Allen, I guess, could play center at that point and do it effectively. So what makes him such a fit for the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, the Bucks, I feel like the Bucks could use another big at center for depth, and they can also use a power forward for depth. Jabari Parker, the guy they took number 2 overall in 2014, got a season-ending injury as a rookie. He also dealt with a season-ending injury this year. So that is 2 times in 3 years that the guy they took at number 2 overall has dealt with a season-ending injury. That is huge. So I think you draft another guy in case he gets injured again that can step in and can take control of this team. And Jarrett Allen reminds me a lot of a guy the Pacers took out of Texas 2 years ago named Miles Turner. So Jarrett Allen makes a great fit for Milwaukee at this spot.
I like how you make the comparison that Jarrett Allen reminds you of, because it's actually almost accurate. But don't be surprised if Milwaukee doesn't go for Jarrett Allen and goes for somebody like a Bam because of the big stockiness and his athleticism. But you know, either way, the thing that Milwaukee needs is a big man. So I'm looking from anywhere to Jarrett Allen to Harry Giles.
Yeah, and now we're looking at number 18. The Indiana Pacers going shooting guard. They have not had a real superstar shooting guard in many years. They've had the small forwards, they've had the point guards. Shooting guard's been elusive since Reggie Miller retired. So, Chris gives them Luke Kennard, the shooting guard, second Duke player off the board. So, Chris, why Kennard out of everybody else?
Well, Luke Kennard averaged 19.5 points per game. When we mentioned Malik Monk at the beginning of the show, TJ also brought up Luke Kennard a little bit earlier, 6'6", 202. His shooting is just too good to pass on, and I think the Pacers are looking at a few options, guys like Ivan Rabb, guys like Nigel Williams-Goss, if Jeff Teague leaves in free agency. But I think at the end of the day, they take the best player on the board, and at this point, that has to be Luke Kennard. I actually had Kennard going to the Hawks in one of my previous mocks, but after I heard the Pacers have worked him out multiple times, this is a player that I brought in. And I know TJ is going to disagree with me on the next pick for Atlanta is 19, but I feel like Kennard's a decent fit for Indiana.
I think Kennard would be a decent pick for Indiana. They need a shooter. God, I feel bad for Paul George because it's like he's the only person that's doing it by himself, and like they need help in the perimeter. So Kennard would be the best fit. They need to get Kennard the top player. I see them giving the big man, but at the same time, no, they need a perimeter person, and Kennard's that perimeter person.
Yeah, and now we're going to a school I haven't heard from in a while. They used to put out some pretty quality players every now and then, but they've been silent recently. So, number 19, Atlanta, takes center. 7 foot, 226 pounds, Justin Patton out of Creighton.
Yeah, this is a guy that the Hawks have worked out, and he's 7 foot 226. I know they have Dwight Howard, but the thing is, Howard, whenever Dwight Howard's on a team that misses the playoffs, he goes off or he shoots his mouth off and he drives himself apart from that. He did it with the Magic, he did it with the Lakers, he did it with the Rockets. I feel like he's going to happen eventually, and you don't want to go into a situation where Howard goes off and you decide to release him and you don't have a plan in place. That's why the Lakers still have problems at center. That's why the Rockets still have problems at center. The Magic were able to get lucky and fix their problems at center, but that's the Magic. These other teams haven't been able to fix that. Atlanta should put someone in where they can develop them for a year or two, and maybe you do start Catan off as a power forward in this situation. Even though he's a pure center, you could start him off as a power forward if Millsap leaves. So
Yeah,
I honestly have thought about swapping the Ivan Rabb Justin Patton picks, because I have Ivan Rabb to Portland at 20 and Patton to the Hawks at 19.
well, you also have to look at it from the perspective of Howard is an older guy at this point in time in his career. Yeah, he came out of high school straight into the pros, but he's been in the league for 14 years. He's been there for a long time. So even then, finding a replacement for him wouldn't exactly be a bad option in this case.
Hmm. I'm just thinking about Atlanta, what they might do, and I kind of agree with you on this one. Um, Dwight has not been playing since since Orlando. That's a little minute. And he's getting older. He somewhat can average a triple double. A double double somewhat, and then you just don't see that the White that we used to see when he was in Orlando. He was really playing basketball. So maybe a center might be helpful to get for Atlanta, but at the same time, if they don't if Justin Jackson does not get picked, here's what might happen. Atlanta might get Justin Jackson, then wait till 2008 draft where a lot of big men supposed to be coming out anyway, and then they'll get a big man.
Yeah, I'm looking at AtlantaHawks.com. They didn't link our mock. I think there are 12 other NBA mock drafts, and 4 of those NBA mock drafts have Jarrett Allen going to the Hawks, but he came off the board at 17. 3 of those mocks have Justin Jackson, Hoop Hype, CBS Sports, and NBA DraftNet all have Jackson. And 3 mocks agree with me on Justin Patton at 19, and those sites are Fox Sports, Draft Express, which is #1 in NBA mock drafts on Google, and Sports Illustrated. They all have Patton to Atlanta like I do.
I mean, it'll be a better fit if you ask me. But it'll be a better fit. It'll be a better way to put Justin there more than Jackson. In my eyes, I feel like it'll be better. But if they don't be surprised they get Jackson. They're probably not going to tank the season, but they're probably going to lose the season to try to get a higher pick.
Yeah,
2008 draft.
yeah,
I mean,
and
18 draft. Sorry.
now we're going into the final stretch of our NBA draft preview with the bottom 10 picks in this mock draft, and we're looking at the Portland Trailblazers. And this, I'm not sure whether this would be a condemnation on Portland's part, on the players' part, on Chris's part, but Chris gave them Ivan Rabb, power forward out of Cal, then turn around and compared him to spot starter slash career backup David Lee. So, Chris, I'm kind of confused here. You know, you got a player that you say you're high on, that everybody seems to be high on, yet you compare him to a solid player, not a first round caliber player, but a solid player. So, what's your rationale behind Ivan Rabb to Portland?
Well, Portland has the guards in place, but they don't have the power forward. Evan Turner is a decent small forward, but he's getting up there. And then you have center issues. I think Ivan Rabb fits what you want to do. This is a guy I had at number 8 overall last year before he returned to school in my 2016 NBA mock draft. But Ivan Rabb just makes a lot of sense for Portland at 20.
Agree. If
Some
think
of these picks in the 21 through 30 range are going to surprise a lot of you, but go on, TJ.
I think they can do this two ways. Atlanta does get let's say Atlanta does get Justin Jackson, then they can then Portland will either get Ivan Rabb, or they'll get Justin Paxson, a center, a true center. Those two will be the obvious pick. I don't see, or maybe Harry Gills. Either of those three picks be an obvious choice. Other than that, no wing, no point guard. They getting a big man.
I think Ivan Rabb would be final first-round talent at this point, and then you'd have guys who are first to second-round talents or second-round guys getting pushed up in the 21 through 30 range. That's kind of what we saw in the 2016 and 2014 NHL entry draft, and I think we see the same thing here with the NBA draft. You see 21st-round guys, and then after Ivan Rabb, there's a pretty significant drop-off in the talent level from first-round talent to second-round talent.
Yeah, and now we move to 22, where the Brooklyn Nets
You skipped
and
the Thunder pick at 21.
I did.
Yeah, Portland Trail Blazers at 20, Oklahoma City Thunder pick at 21. They passed on small forward out of Syracuse. If they can't get Durant, they need to get another small forward and train him. This is a guy versatile enough to play the 3 or the 4. He needs to do a better job avoiding turnovers, though. But Tyler Lydon, 6'10", 205. I have him going to Oklahoma City at 21. Any thoughts on this pick before we get to the Brooklyn pick at 22, TJ?
As far as Oklahoma, that is a smart pick. That's a very, very smart pick. However, if they do not do that, and Ivan Rabb is still up there, another choice they might take.
Well, Ivan Rabb just got picked by Portland, but if he's there, they'll take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. If he doesn't choose if Portland doesn't choose Rabb, then Ivan Rabb will go to Oklahoma City, and then Oklahoma City will have to try to make a trade to get a small forward to try to bounce. But I can see that. I can definitely see how the pick will actually happen better than them getting Ivan Rabb for Oklahoma for 21st.
Yeah, and now we go to the Nets, who go on and take the pretty little Cajun queen, Mr.
Yes,
Terrence Ferguson.
Another international player from the Adelaide 36ers. I believe they're in France too, but the Brooklyn Nets need a shooting. They need help everywhere outside of the center position, and Ferguson is the top player on the 22 in my mind. After previously mocking to Washington, I also considered OG Anunoby here, but I went with Ferguson. I feel like the Nets have more interest in him, and they get another international player here at number 22. And we have another international player going off the board at 23 in Isaiah Hartenstein out of Toronto, but I'll let TJ get his thoughts on the Terrence Ferguson pick before we get to the Isaiah. Before we get to the Isaiah Hartenstein pick.
Brooklyn, Terrence Ferguson, my best choice. Kyle Kuzma might be another pick they might do. I got Terrence Ferguson going to Brooklyn. But, don't be surprised if they actually do get Kyle. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I just think Terrence Ferguson will be a better choice for them. They need help on shooting.
And TJ, what are your thoughts on 23?
Toronto?
Yes.
Well, let's see.
They took Isaiah Hartenstein.
I took Isaiah Hartenstein, the Zalgiris power forward, international player.
Yeah. That's a better fit. That's a better fit. I can see that. See that. If they take but if they take an international player, they might take DJ Wilson from Michigan, or they might take Isaiah, the 7-foot power forward, just because of the height and probably the length.
And now we chug along and we go straight to the Utah Jazz. And what the heck? Valparaiso. I haven't heard from them.
Yep.
I have not heard from Valparaiso. At one point was just churning out the DA players, and then they stopped. And now it seems they're back with Valparaiso taking Alex Peters at power forward. And Chris, I mean, you can't argue with the stats, but at the same time, what do you got, man?
Yeah, Alec Peters is a bit of a surprise pick here. 6'9", 225, 23 points per game, 10.1 rebounds per game. He just feels like a Jazz player just from the vibe. And Derek Favors, while I do like him, he did have the best season this year. And I feel like Peters would be in long-term down the road. So I felt like Alec Peters out of Valparaiso just feels like a Utah Jazz type of pick here at 24.
I agree. I can definitely agree to that. Utah, Utah is pretty known to get what pick am I trying to say? Like a really solid pick, even solid player for that Utah team.
And moving on, we got number 26, Portland's second first-round pick. They took power forward the first time through.
What about Orlando at 25? They took OG Anunoby out of Indiana. With the Clippers pick?
Yeah, I think it was the thing that said OG in front that threw me a little bit. I probably just went right past him after that.
OG Anunoby, Indiana small forward. This is a guy that would have been a lottery pick if he wasn't injured, but he did get it in for a season-ending injury and falls to Orlando as a result. And Anunoby, Dennis Smith Jr., plus the Magic have the 33rd pick from the Lakers, as well as their own second-round pick at 35. So they've got 25, 33, and 35. I could see them moving up a little bit if there's someone else they wanted to get to pair with Dennis Smith Jr. at a certain point in the draft. But I went OG Anunoby. I thought the value was too good at this point for Orlando to pass on.
I'll go with that statement, Anunoby, that statement. But if they do not do that, just add a point guard and Juwan Evans. So, I hope Orlando does the best in their draft. I see Ogunade being there.
Yeah, and
speaking of backup point guards, I have one going to Portland at 20. Nigel Williams-Goss out of Gonzaga, 5'1", 95. This is a guy I actually had in my lottery at one point, but Draft Express has him going to the Knicks at 58. But I think he's a first-round talent, and he's got really good tape. So I actually have Portland taking him here, even though he's not getting the hype or the recognition or exposure that some of these other point guards are getting. This is a guy I can see sneaking into the late first round, and I think Nigel Williams-Goss as a backup to Lillard, a great fit at 26.
I agree with that statement. He is a first round talent, and that can he does a lot. I think he got undercut by Draft Express, and that's why he dropped the lotteries. Dropped from a lottery pick to the pick that he might actually go to. But I can see him with Portland and doing great for Portland. Portland to use that extra piece to come off on the bench.
Yeah, and next we got the Brooklyn second first round pick. They're taking the third Duke player to come off the board, power forward Harry Giles. No relation to Rupert Giles, who trained Buffy the Vampire Slayer. No relation there. But
Yeah,
Chris,
Harry Giles was a top 5 prospect and a guy who was pushing Josh Jackson for the number 1 pick at the beginning of the year. But he got injured, missed 3 months, so durability is now a question with Giles. But I think the Nets would look past that at this point, knowing with Giles that the value is there.
yeah, if you got that much talent coming up there, falling the end of the first round, I mean, you take it. TJ, what do you think about that?
They'll pick Giles. Brooklyn will pick Giles. Uh, it's a valuable piece. They need it. They really need it. They need somebody to help out Brook Lopez, and Harry Giles might be the answer to the solution of that problem. So yeah, I'm going with Harry Giles on this one as well.
And I gotta ask, with well,
I believe we're on 28. The Lakers took Jonathan Jean out of Nancy, 7'2" center.
quit your bitching, Nancy. Just got a center in the NBA draft first round.
The center, and then I think the Spurs got Josh Hart, and then the final pick was the Jazz. I can't remember who. I know those two picks 28, 29 on the top of my head.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, I know we've been on here a while, but let's
go. We don't have to rush these picks. We can take time to break
let's
them down.
go with Jonathan Jean. Okay, average number is 14 points and 10 rebounds. He's out of France. Like, the only way a place would ever name their basketball team name. And he's a beanpole. But, you know, Lakers need a center. As you stated earlier, they never fixed the center position. 7'2", 210 pounds. Guy needs to get up to about at least 240. So, I mean, it's a pretty good pick, as far as skill level goes. But will he be able to take the beating of the NBA? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's other guys. There's Caleb Swanigan, Thomas Bryant. There's other centers, even guys like Bam Boyo that I have second-round grades on. There's someone's going to fall to 28 for the Lakers. I really like Jonathan Jean, so that's who I went with. There is a medical concern with him. I read Brian Thornsberg, who NASCAR on the site, actually posted a piece on Jonathan Jean, how he has like some injury or some sort of medical condition that may keep him from playing the NBA. That's something I'm sure Magic Johnson and the Lakers are looking into, because Jean fits what the Lakers want to do, but at the same time, if that condition is pretty serious, they might go Bryant here.
Yeah, and we're going to move on real quick. San Antonio Spurs at 29. This is a guy I have heard going anywhere from the top 15 to the end of the first round. Josh Hart, shooting guard, Villanova. Now, I know Manu Ginobili's getting up there in age. I know Hart's got talent, but my question is, why is his draft range on such a ping pong table?
Well, Josh Hart's draft range is all over the place. He dominated in Villanova's championship run in 2016. Villanova lost in the second round to Wisconsin, but they did get the 1 seed again, and they were able to get some confidence. But Josh Hart was the key piece for Villanova. And this is a guy who can go anywhere from the lottery range in the late portion of the lottery at 11 through 14 to a guy who could potentially flip to the second round. That's the kind of draft range you're looking at with Josh Hart, and that's why his value's all over the place. But I think the Spurs at 29 is an excellent fit for Hart.
TJ, what do you think about Hart going to the Spurs?
I think that's a good pick for the Spurs. Manu Ginobili, we don't know how long he's going to play basketball for. This might be his last year, or next year might be his last year. I think that's a good step up if you can get a person like Hart, who can get the knowledge and the wisdom from Manu Ginobili being and just being around that Spurs team. You get coached by Greg Popovich and the system, and that it is a team ball game, and not just about being a star player.
And at number 30, we have the Utah Jazz, Rodions Kurucs, small forward, FC Barcelona. Chris, give us a lowdown on this guy.
Well, this is the only first-round prospect left on my board. He rounds into my top 30. And with Gordon Hayward having a player option, he might opt out of his contract. He might not. Either way, this is a good player to develop behind Hayward, or you can keep him in Barcelona and develop him for another year. I feel like Kurucs just fits what the Jazz want to do. There are some good small forwards at the beginning of the second round. One of those guys could get pushed up to this spot, but Kurucs just seemed like a player the Jazz would draft here at 30.
TJ?
I think they will. If Gordon Hayward opt out of his time, I think they'll for the Utah for quite some time, and Utah Jazz is not willing to lose Gordon Hayward. So, I believe they'll go with. I think they'll go power forward, maybe the 7-2 power forward. Last time I checked, I heard that he can shoot threes, mid rangers. So maybe they'll go with him, or maybe they'll go with a center.
Yeah, and for a parting shot, what do you guys think about this draft overall?
Best draft overall.
Yeah,
What
do you think of it? No, what do you think of this NBA draft, the prospects overall?
I think it's a lot of teams that can find. I ain't gonna say they can find a lot of value within the players that they do get. I'm not gonna say it's a blockbuster draft because it's not a blockbuster. It's more of a role player type draft where you're gonna find some role players within your team from the people that you drafted.
I would agree with you there. There are some people saying this is the best draft since 2015. I'm not sure I would go that far when you consider how successful Karl Anthony Towns has been, how some of the other players from that class are beginning to put things together. I do like this draft better than 2016, but at the same time, I feel like 2018's draft could be even deeper with as many as 7-foot centers projected to go in the first round. I mean, there are some good middle-of-the-pack centers, some combo big men, but they're not true centers like in next year's class. If you look at the power forwards, it's deep, it's top-heavy at power forward. It's not a deep power forward group. It's a small forward group, but it's not a top-heavy small forward group. It's a top-heavy point guard group, but after the lottery pick and Evans and Nigel Williams-Goss, there's a significant drop-off in point guard play. And it's very thin at point guard in the second round, but it's very top-heavy point guard in the first round. And shooting guard there's some good value picks, but it's not a deep shooting guard draft or top-heavy shooting guard draft. But there are some solid value picks shooting guard. That's how I'd probably assess this class.
And there you have it. the Draft Evolution NBA Draft Preview. And be sure to
Quick
tune
question
in.
before we wrap up, Joey. Are we going to do a Draft Evolution NBA Draft Results special next Monday?
I am leaning toward that direction, so stay tuned with that. I'm also thinking about doing something else for it, so stay
we can
tuned.
split it up into 2 parts where we do talk about the NBA Draft results in the first half an hour, and in the second half an hour we do a prospect profile.
Well, we could talk about this later. Right now, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We've got, and everybody who's listening, thank you for joining. Make sure to tune in to TalkShoe.com on the night of the draft for enjoying Chris Ransom and Ryan Romero for their live coverage of the NBA draft. If you like this video, feel free to like and share. For TJ and Chris, everyone at the Evolution Network, I'm Joseph Potter. Have fun and take care.